Hi, and welcome back to the HQ. Today, we're going to be reacting to how a VTuber faked hospitalization instead of just apologizing by Muujin. Now, judging from the name and the thumbnail, I've seen this name trending on Twitter a few times. I didn't bother to look into it much because anytime I'm checking Twitter, it's usually at work or in bed when I'm about to sleep, and I don't like to read things when I'm sleepy or working. So let's just hop right into this and see what this more VTuber drama is all about. Show us what you got, Papa Muujin.
Accountability is something that we all must inevitably face at one point during our lives.
Oh,
Whether we
absolutely.
hurt the feelings of a loved one or just straight up clog the toilet to unimaginable degrees.
Don't even get me started on that. Don't even get me started on that. Don't even get me started on that. My little sister is notorious for just blowing up the toilet. Like, it's not even that she just shits in it so much. It's just like, she just shoves things that do not belong in a toilet down there. Like, there's a reason why those wipes say non-flushable. You're not supposed to flush them.
We simply just have to take a step back sometimes and say, sorry,
Yeah.
my bad, I screwed up. And as simple as that might sound to a normal person watching this right now, unfortunately, as you
It
might have
starts
already
with sorry.
concluded from being on the internet, accountability is starting to become a rarity these
Oh,
days.
yeah.
But if we had some sort of a
Most
global
certainly.
competition on seeing who can avoid saying sorry the most consistently, then it would be content creators. Especially
Oh,
ones who
yeah.
have a lot of followers and have built such an ego that they have become delusional.
The tried and tested apology video. It does wonders every time. The fact that the apology video is such a synonymous joke in content creation is just kind of proof that, like, being like apologetic and sincere as a content creator once you get big enough, it's just kind of meaningless. It's like there's no fucking point.
And unfortunately, we see many such cases, more specifically in the VTubing community.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
today, we're talking about the VTuber by the name of ChaChaChilla, someone who tried to cancel another VTuber and her entire agency. And when she
Huh?
got called out, right, when she was proven wrong with receipts and proof, instead of saying sorry and taking a step back, she instead claimed that she was going to the hospital and she got community noted. And as ridiculous as this sounds, I wish that's where it ended.
Oh,
Because
boy.
people would uncover that this was her third rebrand from 2 past controversial lives. And after putting the pieces together, would start to tell us about the other controversies she was
What?
involved in before even becoming ChaChaChilla. I mean, this
Okay. Disabled VTuber ChaChaChilla accuses SVA's ad-free of ableism in Minecraft roleplay. Okay, already saying ableism in Minecraft roleplay already, like, that's already a wild start right there. Holy shit. Oh, this looks like it's gonna be like, I'm not reading all that. I'm sure Muujin's gonna get into that, but holy shit.
whole thing was such a disaster that it ended up trending on Twitter. Guys, as this was happening, I could not believe my eyes. Not only was this crash out incredibly bad, but it involved a person that literally had zero self-awareness. I can't see this happening otherwise. The humiliation and embarrassment would be too much to handle for
At this point, you gotta wonder if, like, these people who just do this, do they have like a humiliation kink? Is that what they're into? Like, I'm not gonna judge you, unless that's what you get off on. Me judging and humiliate you. Is that what you want? You want me to humiliate you?
a normal person. So look, by now you know me. Once I see a catastrophe like this unfold before my eyes, I think to myself, man, I have to talk to you guys about this. So without further ado, let's do this.
Let's hop right into there.
All right, so this whole incident actually took place in Minecraft.
Already a
You see,
bad
there
start.
were 2 VTubers that created a server. The first one was called Lucia, and the second one was called Arissa. The survival multiplayer server they would create, otherwise known as SMP, would be called Invasion Parasite.
Should we do an SMP? Probably not. That already just sounds like a bad idea.
But it would have a twist. Other than just being an SMP, it was also an RP server where people roleplayed different characters and made up different stories and scenarios.
That's
All meant to
already a
be
bad
in
idea.
good fun.
Already
VTubers
bad.
of very varying sizes and very varying audiences decided to join that server to have a good time together and get to meet new people. Some of these VTubers happened to be from the SOX agency, otherwise known as SVA, one of the few VTuber agencies that is actually still standing and works pretty damn well with its talents. The server took around 3 months to set up, and what
I mean, I've never heard of SOX VA, which I guess is a good thing, because usually the only time I ever hear stuff with my messed up algo is usually whenever they do something really bad. So the fact that I haven't heard of them is already a good thing.
It actually involved the work of multiple people. It would have multiple factions competing against one another while being invaded by mobs, and the event in its entirety would last 3 days. After the last day of the server, Lucia would tweet, "Invasion Parasite was a huge undertaking that I didn't fully grasp the intensity of." She'd say that it all started as a silly little idea between her and Orisa, all while thanking the people who helped her set it up, as well as talk about some of the issues that popped up that they were able to get through anyway. She mentioned how some people produced music, art, and stories in the server
Like they really
and that she was
really went like
grateful.
all in on it.
Overall, a pretty healthy conclusion, right? Well,
I
this
definitely
was
love to
tweeted
check
on
out
November
some
17th,
neat
2025.
SMP stuff
On the
sometime.
same day, an hour earlier before Lucia made her tweet, ChaChaChilla would herself make a tweet saying, "I think it's weird that people will act like they're better than you and literally call you inferior to your face and then act like you're
bookmarking
the
this shit.
problem." Now, of course, initially
got
her
the
community was
receipts all
concerned.
over.
Like, what do you mean? Who called you inferior? Who could do that? Half an hour later, she would make yet another tweet, this time longer and specifying exactly what she meant. Saying, "I wanted to take a moment to apologize for how I reacted on the last day of the SMP. I got genuinely frustrated and let that frustration turn into anger."
By the way, if you see me squinting, it's because I don't have my glasses on, because it's very hard to do VTubing with glasses. It makes my face wig out sometimes. So I just kind of take my glasses off sometimes whenever I'm doing reactions, so it's not the best when I'm trying to look. But, I mean, I have more range of facial animation whenever I don't have my glasses on, so, you know. And doing that basically until I can afford a decent ring light to put behind my camera, or wherever you're supposed to put ring lights. I don't know.
And that wasn't fair to anyone. I'm sorry for the way I spoke. That said, I want to be honest about where that frustration came from, because I think it matters. From the start of the SMP, we agreed to hold off on griefing until day 3 so everyone could settle in, build, and actually enjoy the opening experience. When griefing started on days 1 and 2, it didn't just break the rules, it broke the spirit of what we were trying to create together. On top of that, hearing things like my team being inferior or that we deserved to die got under my skin more than I expected. I didn't handle that well, and I should have stepped back instead of blowing up. I'm not here to hold grudges though, I want to move forward and be better and not let my anger get the best of me no matter the circumstance. Alright, well, you know, you read this and you think, okay, well maybe there was some miscommunication in the server, but overall, it's fine. She took a step back, she was like, "I'm fine with it, not holding grudges, let's move on." Except that's not where things ended, right? She would then reply to this tweet and say, "And I also want to be honest about something personal. Being called inferior hit me harder than I let on because I'm disabled. I deal with those kinds of assumptions in real life more often than people realize, and hearing it in a space that's supposed to be fun and welcoming cut a lot deeper. I don't expect everyone to tiptoe around me, but I do expect basic respect. For me, and for anyone else who might be carrying something you can't see, comments like that don't just stay in the game, they stick with you. And that's part of why I reacted the way I did."
I mean, all in all, just reading this, like off rip, I mean, that's fair. Like, if you have some kind of disability, even if it's not like a physical, like a greatly debilitating disability, and you feel insulted from being called inferior, and it doesn't really matter the context, like, if you're disabled and you openly, like, put out there that you're disabled and you're being called inferior, yeah, I can understand how that burns. I'd be the same way if I got that shit because of my autism. I mean, I don't, because at this point, autism is basically just like a fucking buff for my, like, stupid brain stuff. Yeah, see, this is what happens whenever I let the autism run wild. I can't speak. I can't talk. Oh, boy. But yeah, totally fair to feel that way and being insulted and feeling hurt for being called inferior. I mean, even if it's not like meant intentionally that way, it's still fair enough to feel that way. But I'm sure I'm sure this, considering this is a Mugen video and we're less than a third of the way through, I'm sure this is going to take a spin real quick.
All right, maybe that was a bit of a stretch. I mean, this is a roleplay server, right? This is just the word inferior here, but it's okay. We can just call that miscommunication, guys. It happens, you know, it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
If ChaChaChilla had just shut up and not done anything else, things would have been completely okay. Except she didn't, right?
Yeah.
Of course she
Judging
didn't.
from the
And
fact that
next
this
day,
video
she would
is almost
start off
40
an
minutes
incident
long.
so massive that it would start trending on Twitter.
Yeah, I saw
On
the trend.
November 18th, 2025, ChaChaChilla would make this tweet saying, I tried to talk to Flork about one of his talents having a habit of calling people inferior and how that can seem to disabled people. However, he blocked me and said not to bring up my personal issues with his talents. I believe calling somebody inferior is demeaning as it's historically used context. THRICE called us that. If you support Sock's Vtuber agency aka SVA, this is what you're supporting. She would then link a clip of 3 seconds. Watch.
I literally almost died in the first like 2 minutes.
Alright, so there's a lot happening in this clip, but near the end, right, what she's trying to highlight is THRICE saying, you're inferior, we're just better. Just as a reminder, right, we're in Minecraft, they're role-playing, and it does involve player versus player fighting.
Okay, already this seems kind of sus. It's like, your evidence to being, like, insulted to such a debilitating degree is that a 3-second clip of a yap ass like Minecraft server full of people just yapping. That's your evidence? Oh, we are off on a start, huh?
All right, that's just all I'll say before we continue, all right? Now, she would refer to someone called Flork, and that would actually be the CEO of Sock's agency, of SVA. So she was out here trying to cancel one of his talents for calling her inferior while calling him out directly, saying that he wasn't doing anything about this. Now look, I don't know what she was expecting, maybe seeing some people rally behind her, maybe she felt that she was truly fighting for a greater cause here, but almost immediately after posting this, the entire VTubing community just went up against her because God, this was such a ridiculous thing to cry about. Malfina, who is part of SVA, would say, a habit? A 3-second clip is a habit where the person isn't seen? The word was spoken in a roleplay based around factions fighting a war against one another. Wilders were also making comments against other teams. That's how it works. What's unprofessional is approaching Flork as you did, purely trying to get ad-free into some sort of trouble, then being unable to provide evidence. What's unprofessional is stretching his "this is your fight" to him.
Imagine getting this salty over, like, this bent out of shape over Minecraft RP. I could never. Like, my problem is I wouldn't be able to get into character. I just wouldn't take it seriously. Like, I would certainly try. But, like, for me, if I tried to do anything like that, I'd either not take it seriously at all and not be able to get into character, or I'd take it way too seriously and my inner theater kid will come out and I'll just be, like, fully in character and do, like, a period piece. And yes, for your informations out there, I was a theater kid in high school. I was 4 straight years of theater. My freshman and sophomore years, I was in technical theater and advanced theater. And then my junior and senior years, I was theater and advanced theater. I was up in there every single year. I just could not leave the theater sometimes.
Allegedly approving the word inferior as an attack against disabled people. What's unprofessional is shouting about high raids and subs around those who are role-playing respectfully in open areas. What's unprofessional is starting to instigate other players even after a mod told you to stop, then playing victim as was seen on your stream. She would then specify that this had nothing to do with disabilities and would end this by saying, this all started because Addy unfriended you. Everyone has the choice to do so. This is a sad reaction. So this, of course, adds a lot of context that was missing in that initial callout post. As I mentioned earlier, this server had multiple factions, 3 to be exact. They were all competing against one another for the end goal of the entire story involving the server. So I'm sure many of you watching might have played sports or played just online games in general, and understand that shit-talking your opponent is a very normal thing to do, especially...
I grew up in those Halo 2 servers. I grew up in those Halo 2 multiplayer custom game servers, dog. Like, I grew up in the Slayer fields. I know how it be. I know how it goes. Like, I've seen all that. Some of these people would not survive a day in the minds of what I have had to go through when I was but a youngin' playing on original Xbox Live on Halo 2. Oh boy, this is already off to a rough go.
Saying something like inferior. This wasn't a slur or anything, right? It was actually extremely harmless.
Yeah.
Pretty much everyone from SVA stood up for ad-free, saying, hey, this is a roleplay server, dumbass. And you even had disabled people. The group of people that she claimed to be speaking for come out against her, saying, yo, you're a dumbass. Inferior is not a slur. Come on. And then you'd see another member from SVA by the name of Yami add more context about their past experiences with ChaChaChilla.
I love Yami so much. I love just like occasionally just interacting on Twitter and just yapping. Shout out Yami, I love you.
Quote tweeting her call out post and saying, oh hey, it's the person who kept following me around all of Offkai after I told them to stop and I had to warn security over her.
Oh,
Offkai,
I remember
course,
seeing this post.
Convention. She continues. The person who was overstepping my boundaries.
I remember seeing this post.
Comfort over and over when I told them not to touch me and spoke at me like I was less than them, saying I was so brave for going to Offkai as a trans person rather than talking to me like a normal person. You don't get to play the victim when you've hurt and disrespected so many people, and many know about your past life and the terrible things you've done there too. All I can do is wish you find the help you need. Step away from the internet, find professional help, and breathe. Maybe the world will be brighter for you one day where you don't find a need to validate your existence by trying to bring down others. So yeah, this wasn't just any random call-out post. This person apparently had a history of being very weird and even had...
Yeah, I remember seeing this post on the timeline. Like, this is the only context I have for the Cha-Cha stuff. I honestly forgot this was about Cha-Cha for a second, but yeah. I absolutely forgot. But, oh boy, holy shit. Oh my goodness, yeah. Apparently, not even just like using disability as a shield for shitty behavior, but outright just stalking Yomi around a VTuber convention and just talking about how brave she is for being out in a convention as a trans person was like, you know, like chudlets aside, the VTuber community is one of the more welcoming communities of folks like us, because like you don't need to like be like this conventional like idealist version of yourself. You can just be whatever you want to be, and whatever that is, you're free to do it. So it's like just incredibly freaking weird. It's just weird, dude.
Had a past life. She used to be another VTuber, but we'll get into that later. For now though, the CEO himself of SVA would quote tweet her call out post and tell us about his side of the story, saying, yes, I did snap at you in DMs because you were told not to contact me anymore prior to this. Lucia's team investigated the first piece of evidence you showed them regarding ad-free and it was not even them speaking, video included. Their team there gave you the statement on what was happening. It was roleplay in a Minecraft faction roleplay, and I will wholeheartedly back my talent that they did no wrong, especially in a 4-second out of context clip you originally showed.
Yeah.
You'd link a 14-second video, and this was actually what ChaCha had sent Lucia's team, right, the person behind the server, to prove that ad-free was somehow an ableist, someone who discriminates against disabled people. Watch for yourself.
Treating guys.
They're wild.
Guys, they're like,
gotta give them a
yeah,
pass.
what's happening with that?
Brains are a little smaller.
Dude, that's gonna oh my god,
I was never a wilder. Thank you very much.
yeah, it's true. I never.
Right, so in this clip, you can see a bunch of VTubers saying that the opposite faction, the Wilders, have smaller brains. I guess ChaCha was trying to say that this was ableist, like they were making fun of disabled people.
You know, as if this wasn't like a Minecraft RP thing going on. Like, I've been mean to people in RP, like doing like little jokey stuff like this. Like, I'm being like, oh, well, I'm sorry. I guess you're just not as smart as me in geometry and building this thing. It's like, yeah, I've been a dickhead to people in video games. I have my heated gamer moments, you know, not like a PewDiePie on a bridge moment, but like heated nonetheless. But it doesn't mean I'm being like an ableist dickhead and just being a jerk about it. Like, it's just like getting into the video game and having fun. Like, I've yapped shit before.
What? Disabled people have smaller brains or something? Yet another stretch. Even better, Flork would be claiming in his post that the clip that ChaCha had sent the mod team didn't even have ad-free speaking in it to begin with. I mean, by this point, the circus was in full swing.
Oh boy.
This post almost has 1 million views, by the way. This was so ridiculous. It blew so much out of proportion. He would then reply to his post and say, "You also stated here other people do it, so why focus on me/SVA? Was it before I told you to not message me any longer as of early October?" And he'd link to images. Here we can see ChaCha saying, "Really? Because as I see it, nothing has been taken care of. You guys have known about the inferior things. Lots of people have been calling us it." In the other image, we can see Flork saying, "Hi ChaCha, I will admit I'm a little uncomfortable with your messages right now. I have been extremely busy because of corpo work and my other work. Though earlier in the year I had more time so I was able to message a bit more freely, I have not had that free time lately. Me not consistently DMing you is not a personal thing, however because of this I'm not sure if I'm comfortable to keep up communication. Best of luck, ChaCha." This happened on the 6th of October 2025, and after this he would block her. It seemed like that really bothered her, and she's held a grudge against him ever since. He would then continue the thread, saying, "Listen, we knew you were going to fucking do this because you did this shit before to other people. I knew you were going to drop this late. Maybe you thought I'd be asleep so you could get an edge on me? I specifically stayed up because we knew you were going to do this. I don't know why the focus was on me so hard, especially if your problem was ad-free. I don't want anything to do with you."
So she's done this shit before then. Oh boy, we got a pattern. We got a pattern of shitty behavior now, huh?
He would then add more context as to why he knew that she stayed up late, showing DMs from this July 2025. Here we can see ChaChaChilla saying, "I'm a night owl," and Flork remembered that detail. The last thing he'd say in this thread
Flork
is, "Honestly,
remembered
do you not
that.
think I stick up for anyone in my agency? Come on. Before you even went into my DMs to try to get me to punish her like a school kid, I knew what was going on." So look, overall, a very strongly worded statement by Flork. I mean, after this, if you had any sort of self-awareness, any sort of shame or dignity, you would probably apologize.
He'd
take a
back
step
down,
back, maybe deactivate
apologize.
your account, I don't know. But just to show you
Yeah.
how much self-awareness ChaChaChilla truly lacks, she actually would reply to this post saying, "Actually, that's not what you said," linking DMs. Here we can see the screenshot from the 6th of October in which Flork says, "Hey, I'm not comfortable really keeping up communication." And we can see the blocked message from ChaChaChilla in which she says, "I'm sorry, it's just that this has happened with multiple people and I guess it's really gotten into my head. I won't bring this up again." Flork then says, "Best of luck, ChaCha." And then she says, "Thank you. Sorry again for letting this get into my head so much. Thank you for understanding." 24 days later, she would say, "Hey, thank you again for understanding. Wanted to give you some time, but the standees did arrive a bit ago and wanted to thank you for them. I love them so much. You do not have to reply to this, just wanted to express my thanks." So look, I don't know what the whole point of this was. Flork would just reply with, "That's pretty clearly don't message me anymore," right? And that was the whole point. That's why he linked these DMs in the first place.
That was the whole
It doesn't matter what
point,
she
dude.
replied with. The whole point was that on the 6th of October 2025, Flork said, "I'm not comfortable keeping up communication. Bye," right? Like, thank you. This was the nicest way he could
like,
say it.
"Please,
ChaChaChilla would
stop
then reply
messaging
again
me."
saying, "That's not what you said? You said you're not sure if you want to keep communication. Be clear, communicate like an adult, especially when you're communicating with somebody who's told you they're autistic in the past." At this point, she's like, "Apologize or draw 25 disability cards and use one of them." Like, what the hell is going on?
Like, to me, it's pretty clear when someone says they don't want to keep up communications, that's pretty clearly that, like, they don't want to talk to you anymore. And, like, that they don't want to communicate no more. So it's like, obviously, it means to leave them alone. So at that point, I don't get what the hell you're doing. God damn, people.
The top reply on her reply would out-ratio her by 20 times and would say, "medically or self-diagnosed." Not to mention that there are so many autistic people in her replies expressing how angry they are that someone is using their condition as an excuse to not take accountability. Like, look, I've seen my fair share of absolute train wrecks of VTubers, but no one has ever taken it this far of replying to something so clear-cut and still trying to paint themselves as a victim. And you know,
like, as someone who has twice diagnosed, once when I was in the 3rd grade and the second time when I was 19 years old, so I am both as a child and as an adult diagnosed with autism, you learn to pick up social cues like this. It's a little harder, but you can learn. And it's like, obviously, they didn't want to communicate with you anymore. the fact that you have autism isn't just some catch-all that you can use as like your defense. Like you need to obviously have better communication skills, but in general, just learn to read the room. Just read the room, dude.
What the worst part is, or I guess the best part, since you're probably entertained, we're not even halfway through. It gets so much worse.
Yeah, I
The
can
next tweet
tell.
during
I
this
saw the
entire
runtime.
shitstorm would be from Nikita, someone who actually helped Lucia and Arissa make the server and was a staff member. He'd say, I am the staff member who personally handled ChaCha's ticket regarding this matter. I feel it is
Oh,
important
boy.
to clarify the timeline and the facts of our investigation for the public record. Initial contact. This issue began when ChaCha posted a call out in the public Wilders faction Discord channel tagging ad-free. I removed that post to de-escalate public tension and immediately reached out to ChaCha privately to explain that public callouts can create a hostile environment.
Obviously,
Protocol.
you don't want to
I
do that
directed
kind of
her to
thing.
open an official ticket so the admin team could review the issue properly and fairly. We went back to the ticket she opened before and continued the conversation there. The investigation. Upon reviewing the original evidence provided in the ticket prior to her public post, we found no evidence of malicious behavior or targeted harassment. toward
Obviously,
ChaCha.
because there was none.
Misidentification.
There was
Crucially,
none.
The individual speaking in the evidence provided for review is not ad-free. So just
So she can't even identify who's speaking. Jeez, that must be, you know, I'm sure she's going to say, oh, it's another part of the autism. She just doesn't know how to link voice to face, I guess. You know, oh, sorry, face blindness, part of autism. Pro tip, no, it's not.
Let's just examine this for a second, right? A staff member is telling us right now that the person who was saying inferior to begin with wasn't even ad-free. This whole incident happened on the basis of wrong delusional information.
God damn.
Absolutely incredible. Anyway, the next section
Absolutely
would be called
delusional.
Event Context. This was a 3-day Minecraft faction PvP event featuring 3 distinct factions.
Yeah.
Wilders, military, and scientists. Intense, in-character banter and trash talk between factions are common expectations of the roleplay genre rather
Yeah,
than malicious
obviously.
attacks. All 3 factions engaged in this behavior as part of the competitive atmosphere throughout the 3 days. And if someone ever took it too far and turned it into hate speech or targeting specific individuals, staff would reprimand said individual and remove them from the server.
Good.
Roleplay context.
Very good.
So here he'll be talking about the clip specifically. The specific comments in the clip regarding small brains were made by the player in the video, who, like ad-free, was playing a Wilder Gone scientist. The player involved confirmed this intent, stating, I quite literally was making fun of myself because I started as a Wilder, so I was the small brain in the room. Admission of widespread usage. In private DMs prior to the ticket investigation, ChaCha stated, lots of people have been calling us inferior. This admission confirms she was aware the term was being used broadly by the opposing faction against the Wilders group as a whole. Terminology. ChaCha alleged that ad-free used the word inferior.
Judging from the way that these factions sound, I assume it's like the military is like the militant group, the scientists make all the technology, and the Wilders are like the unga bunga wild people, right? So I can only assume whenever they're using the term inferior in a roleplay context, they're talking about like the Wilders as like these like cave dwelling, like tree swing people that are like inferior in intelligence to the scientists. So it's like, haha, I am a brilliant scientist, and these Wilders are inferior to my superior intellect. You know, some shit like that. Like that's my assumption anyway. So it's like, looking at this in the context of a roleplay server, it makes a lot more sense. So this just leaves me more baffled.
We found no evidence of ad-free using this term towards her. However, regarding the term itself, inferior is a standard adjective meaning lower in rank, status, or quality. In the context of a competitive PvP faction war, this is standard terminology used to denote an opposing team's skill or ranking. In the ticket, ChaCha explicitly rejected the validity of roleplay context entirely, asking, are you saying calling people inferior is okay if it's roleplay? After I asked, may I ask, was it in reference of faction RP? Resolution. I informed ChaCha that while we take reports seriously, we could not find a violation of server rules based on the evidence provided.
Because there was no rule.
Transparency. I explicitly
rule
stated that we
break.
would not stop her from going public if she felt she needed to, as we believe in open communication. Current conduct. While we respect the right to voice concerns, we definitively do not support the targeted behavior currently being exhibited.
Yeah.
Inconclusive and manipulated footage. The public accusation relies on a highly zoomed in, chaotic 3-second snippet. In
Yeah.
this clip, multiple
That's not
conversations
valid
overlap
evidence
and
in the
visual is
slightest.
obscured. Ad-Free's character is not visible in the scene because we cannot see who is speaking and the audio is chaotic. It is factually impossible to verify if Ad-Free is the speaker. Attributing a specific voice to her in this chaos is a massive stretch and does not constitute valid evidence.
Yeah, that was a mess and jumble of audio. I heard at least 5 voices, I think, going off at that one point. So I couldn't verify, I could not certify verifiably who is what speaker at any given point in time of that messy ass clip.
Audio context. Even if one strains to isolate the faint background voice in this chaotic clip, the phrase audible is "they are inferior, we are just better." This phrasing explicitly links the term inferior to a competitive comparison of skill and faction strength, in parentheses, better. Uttering the sentiment privately
Obviously.
among teammates is standard morale building, not a targeted slur. However, again, we cannot verify it was Ad-Free who said this. Retroactive evidence hunting. In her messages to Flork, ChaCha admitted, "I'm going to hunt down the clips." This statement, made after the accusation was leveled, suggests the conclusion, in parentheses, that Ad-Free was guilty, was formed before any evidence was actually found.
So she just automatically assumed that she's basically just guilty until proven innocent, instead of the other way around. Because it's like, you're going out there hunting for clips to prove yourself right rather than to, vindicate any actual proof. Oh, that's always worked out well. I'm sure.
This explains why the eventual proof was a misidentified clip of a different person. Unprofessional escalation. ChaCha claims she contacted the SVA agency owner Flork and he did nothing. This is a misrepresentation. The screenshot of that conversation shows Flork enforcing a standard professional boundary, refusing to allow personal conflict, where one party has blocked the other, to be escalated into management harassment. Flork directed her to respect the block, that matter is settled,
obviously,
rather than validating her attempt to bypass it.
Yeah, you don't try to bypass a block. That's just creepy behavior already.
And finally, conclusion. We stand definitively by our investigation. It is unacceptable that a situation defined by manipulated evidence and misidentification has escalated to the point where independent event staff must intervene to correct the public record. We expect all participants to adhere to professional standards and we will not validate the use of misinformation to target community members or external agency leadership.
Absolutely.
Nikita would then link a screenshot in which he was talking to ChaCha saying, "Hi ChaCha, we are taking your report very seriously and are reviewing the matter." He would then state everything that was already stated in his Twitter post. Like, for example, the fact that this was completely fine in a roleplay setting. There was nothing weird that was said here. 7 hours later, ChaChaChilla would reply to him, saying, "I've decided I'm going public with this. And in order to avoid the VTuber who streamed it getting involved, I've zoomed in to not show them." So look, overall, this was a very well-crafted post.
So you didn't want to get the VTuber that you're accusing involved, but then you name drop them whenever your shit's not getting enough traction. Oh boy. It's one of those ones, huh?
I mean, he really talked about everything here, giving us context in every way imaginable, and indirectly managed to make ChaChaChilla look like an even bigger clown than she already was. Not only was she linking a very hyper-focused
Get that clown nose on. Get that rainbow wig.
There was no way to verify that it was even Ad-Free who said it. Most likely that wasn't even the case. This was a clear vendetta that she had because she had her feelings hurt that the CEO of SVA had blocked her and that Ad-Free had unfriended her. It was just pathetic. So of course, we can't have proper VTuber drama without the good old community notes.
Oh yeah,
and
community notes getting involved.
Get that treatment.
That's gonna be
this was a
that's gonna be
roleplay
the death
server
blow.
where people were acting.
Death
The people had
blow.
no idea what this person's disabilities were. And their words were not a direct attack to this individual. It was directed at the group in the roleplay, only in the roleplay.
Yeah.
The community would then link 3 different Wikipedia links.
Roleplay,
The first one being
acting,
roleplay,
common
the second one being
sense.
acting, and the third one being common sense. Whoever wrote this was an absolute savage.
Oh,
holy shit.
going
Now,
savage
of course, when you're
mode
a
on him.
complete delusional
Oh my
idiot,
God.
It's really not enough when you can't take accountability after making false accusations. No, the cherry on top is being a hypocrite. And that's exactly what would happen when the VTuber Zion would show us a clip of that roleplay server in which they took the axe of ChaCha and ChaCha called her a bitch. Watch.
Your abs back.
I'm alive.
Why?
Cause I'm alive, bitch.
My. I,
Whoa, whoa.
So Chacha's out here saying, "Oh my God, name calling! You're calling me inferior, ableist, blah blah blah, bro. Whoa, hello. You're out here using
God
the B word,
damn.
woman." As everything was burning and this was literally trending on
Oh.
Twitter, Adfree would make this tweet saying, "Oh hey, good morning." In which you'd see this
Generational
GIF that
classic
sums things up
GIF.
very perfectly.
Classic
They're walking into a
GIF.
burning apartment, dude. But you see, the thing with
Classic
ChaChaChilla is that she
GIF.
had so much more to offer to the world. That's right. Even after everything that's
Oh?
happened so far, she didn't think it would be a good idea to get rid of her phone or something.
Oh.
No, instead, she get the incredible idea of making things 100 times worse.
Oh,
By not
that
shutting
can't be
up
good.
And going as far as starting a fundraiser to sue people defaming her name.
What?
I wish I was joking. After ChaChaChilla's tweet would get community noted, she would swiftly delete it. But that didn't stop the whole incident from trending on Twitter and making people aware of who ChaChaChilla truly was. This is when people would start to uncover her past. Apollo Mythos would make this tweet saying, "Let me give you some more context. ChaChaChilla, aka Bunny Alisu. I was nice, respectful, and
is
tried to be
that?
a friend at the time. I wanted you to get help. You harassed me and my friends and so many others for years. You have doxed IRL faces / names, bullied, spread lies, and got blacklisted from Mythos for a good reason. Mythos being the agency that she's a part of. I gave them a 10+
Jesus.
page document. When we didn't give you what you wanted, you did revenge porn."
What?
Yes, that's the P word, adult videos.
Wha-
Every single time I had something awesome happen to me, you got butthurt with my success early on.
Bruh. Bruh. Oh, I'm just flabbergasted at this point. I'm just flabbergasted at this point. Like, the more I find out, the more I'm just utterly perplexed. She doxed people, bullied, and spread a bunch of bullshit, and got blacklisted. She had a whole document on why she was blacklisted, and in response, she did that. Why do we always get the crazies in this community? Just why?
You shared it everywhere and people saw that side of me. You took my power, and just 2 days before TwitchCon, where I wanted to see people for the first time, my first event, I had to listen to so many people saying they were on my side and that they saw it. I didn't want to hear that. I didn't want that. But you didn't stop there. You kept harassing me for months on end because I wasn't flinching in public. You had to make videos, accounts, and spreading it all over Mythos. I didn't feel safe anymore. I was so overwhelmed I couldn't even stream properly because of you. I lost a lot of things and it harmed me. So obviously
Jesus
that's
Christ.
a crazy accusation,
Holy
right? It seemed like
shit.
ChaChaChilla wasn't just someone who was desperate for clout, going after an agency and its CEO. This was someone who was genuinely dangerous, who had hurt people in the past
Yeah.
and tried to rebrand
Very
to get away
clearly.
from that without, of course, taking any accountability. The replies on this post would be nothing but supportive to Apollo, with quite a few friends confirming, yes, you went through so much, we're here for
Oh,
you, and now
my
you can
God.
finally let it out comfortably because we're here to back you up. Apollo's post would make ChaChaChilla finally make some sort of statement after deleting her initial callout. And this is what she had to say. She'd start off with, "I feel so empty. I lost everything, and I really have nobody to blame but myself. I will say I genuinely thought using inferior was bad."
Genuinely. What the fuck is wrong with this? Like, what is fucking wrong with her? Genuinely. Like, she has to have, like, I mean, I know she has autism, but do you have some kind of mental illness to think that this kind of stuff is okay? Yeah, it's like, oh, it's like suddenly you lost everything because you couldn't sustain your temper and attitude in the context of a roleplay Minecraft server.
But when everybody disagrees with you, it's time to take a
God
step back
damn.
and reevaluate. I'm not perfect and I make mistakes. I will say I saw Apollo's post and I never doxed anybody nor did revenge porn. That's going too far. Please provide evidence. I'm taking a step back from the internet. I feel like I just need to delve deeper
If they're
into therapy
accusing
about my
you
impulsiveness
of doing
and my
that,
sadness that
there
turns
has
into
to be
anger. I made a
evidence.
very impulsive mistake last night, so this is the last time I'll have access to my phone for a while. I don't know when or if I'll be back. I'm sorry that I caused drama and sorry to those I hurt. Now, one thing I want to point out in this amazingly well-crafted statement is that she had never apologized to either AdFree or Flork, nor did she apologize to the server owners.
Not
or
a
the staff
single
that was
apology.
Very professional with her, by the way. She just says, hey, I have nobody to blame but myself. I made a mistake, but she never really took accountability to the people that she was trying to destroy. She was literally trying to cancel people.
Excellent
Someone would point
dodging.
this out in the replies, saying you never apologized to AdFree or Flork. You're trying to dodge responsibility for what you did to Apollo and to Yami. This isn't nearly enough and you're just doing this for damage control. She'd reply with, I will say that I did say Yami was brave for showing her face without a mask, but not for being trans. I can't take responsibility for things I didn't do. As for the lack of apology towards AdFree and Flork, they've told me they want nothing to do with me and I'm respecting that.
Why do you have to like say that that Yami is brave for being around without a mask? It's like that's like you're basically like kind of like backhandedly saying that someone should be brave for being who they are, and you think that they don't like match your like feminine the standard feminine like facial physique. And that's a very backhanded way of like being like, oh, you're so brave for not wearing a mask and showing your face, like for being trans that way. It's like, do you know how like fucking like backhanded that is? Like, I'm blessed that even before the estrogen, I had a very effeminate face. I have a very soft, very round face, and I'm very blessed by that. And I'm sure that the estrogen I take once a week is only going to make that look better. But like, you shouldn't go up to people just be like, if even like, especially if they have like a like non-conventionally feminine face when they're trans, and be like, oh, you're so brave for showing your face. Like, you don't do that. You just don't do that. That's weird. That's weird, dude. That's really weird.
I swear, man, if lack of self-awareness was a person, I think it would personify itself. It would
Oh,
show
yeah.
up and manifest as ChaChaChilla. I need to point out the fact that this post almost has 700,000 views, but man, I mean, you can tell a lot from the engagement, right? Almost 100 comments, all completely pooping on her entire existence. And even though that was the case, she would still
boy.
make an effort to reply to Apollo's post, linking her statement there, saying, posting this here too. Of course, literally just one like on this whole thing. I think she liked
Single
it
like.
herself or something. And as you
I
would
wouldn't be
expect, there's
surprised.
not a single positive reply here. Now look, this had already blown way beyond
Ooh,
proportion,
boy.
right? And even though this was a very unlikable, vile person who just can't say sorry no matter what and has past lives in which they actually hurt other people, I think it's safe to say that things would have died down if, you know, ChaChaChilla actually stepped back and didn't touch her phone anymore.
So is it just past life or past lives plural? Does she have like multiple previous identities of just being a shitty person, dodging accountability, and dipping to a new account immediately? Like, is this like a proven habit and track record? Are we going to expect a 4th rebrand in the future?
But did that actually happen? As you might expect, hell no. Because not even 20 minutes later, she would tweet out, I'll be heading off to the hospital soon and won't have access
I
to
see
my
that
phone.
community
People,
note.
of course, didn't believe her. It's been 20 minutes since you posted that image, bro. Are you just farming for pity? She would then reply to her post saying, since people don't believe me, while linking an image of presumably her in a hospital room while censoring her face. People still didn't believe her, so she replied even further, saying also, I wasn't hospitalized in under 22 minutes, I had been there since November 17th. I was waiting to be transferred to a psych ward, however, the psych ward was full, so I was discharged instead. Linking an image that showed her hospital history, saying that on November 17th, 2025, she had gone to the emergency department.
That's... judging from the UI layout, let me check that actually. I need to check that because I don't know any hospital that uses this app. Obviously, I don't go to the hospital often because I just like don't have that crazy amount of medical issues. I only use it for like some stuff. Like I only have one thing that I use this app for. And let me see see trying to find a page for an example I could find just based off that UI. Yeah, based off the UI, that's the My Chart. It's like a CVS app. And like I know other medical places use it as well, but like I don't know any hospital, like major hospitals that use the My Chart app. Like, oh boy. It's gonna turn out to be bullshit, isn't it?
So what she didn't realize by doing this is that she exposed the fact that she had made her initial call-out post while being in the hospital, which meant that her tweet saying "I'm headed to the hospital" was a lie. She was already there. She was only fishing for attention. Her initial call-out post was made on November 18th, 2025.
So she did all this
while waiting
from
to go to
the
the psych
hospital.
ward. So I'm sure it comes as no surprise that her hospital post got community noted. But
Oh.
before we get into that, we'd find out through another VTuber's quote tweet that ChaChaChilla didn't just have one past life, she had two.
Oh?
They'd say, "You don't know when to quit, do you?" 3 years ago, before she was ChaChaChilla, before she was Bunny Alisu, she was THRICE. She tried to
Who?
cancel me on my birthday subathon when I was being vulnerable to her privately, and she twisted my insecurities to try and scare me out of the VTubing space. She also tried to
dick
drive a
move.
wedge between me and one of my best friends while screwing them out of hundreds of dollars. Seeing you do all this and worse to so many other people makes me fucking sick. 3 years later and you haven't changed a bit, fuck off and never come back.
Oh,
It seemed like
boy.
ChaCha had a track record, and every time she would get caught, she would just rebrand into a new VTuber. As
We
time
just,
went
like,
on,
need
more and
to
more people
snipe
caught
this
onto
person
idea
out of the
that this
community.
was another identity of the same person that screwed them over in the past. This content creator would claim that ChaChaChilla was the same girl who crashed a dinner party that a friend of theirs hosted back in TwitchCon Vegas.
Oh.
Never paid a part of her bill and irresponsibly drank with strangers during the event. People were very uncomfortable with the fact that she was mixing her medication with alcohol. The list,
Oh,
of
you
course, here
don't do
would
that.
go
You
on,
don't do
with her
that.
being accused of spreading multiple false rumors about the content creator and their friends in question, and sending lewd photos of herself with zero consent to this content creator that she since then deleted.
Bruh. Like, what can I say? This is crazy. This is crazy ass stuff. Crazy ass behavior here, dude. Like, what the hell?
Even claiming that ChaChaChilla was also a doxer, something that many others in the community have already
Yeah,
claimed.
we've had
This
multiple
wasn't just a
accounts
serial
of her
offender at
being a
this point. This was
doxer.
like an on-the-run fugitive in the VTuber community. What the hell is this? But the thing
Yeah.
is, this wasn't just about her past controversies. People were doubting the picture that she linked. Even though her face is censored, you can see on the edge here that the hair is pink, and it's fairly
Yeah.
long. The community note on her post about the hospital would actually talk about this, saying the picture OP provided in the subtweet is not them. It is highly likely they are lying for pity. They are a known liar to gain social equity, linking a tweet. That tweet would say, "This picture is not her. She doesn't have pink dyed hair. Her hair is natural brown / dark blonde mixed." Seeing what she looked like in Zentrea's off-guy stream where she heavily self-promoted herself to the point that both Zen and our favorite monarch got uncomfortable, this is a fake pic. So apparently that's also bonus info. She was heavily self-promoting in someone else's stream during the convention. Wonderful. They would then reply to their own post saying, "For
God
anyone
damn,
doubting my
dog.
words, this is her a month ago, still short blonde brownish hair, taken from her own media tab. Now get off my bum just because I'm speaking facts." So yeah, as we can see, this is short hair and there's not a single shade of pink.
How the hell are you gonna post an obviously fake picture of you in a hospital when you have that recent of pictures of yourself? Dude, what the fuck?
Now look,
Crazy
ChaCha apparently is
ass.
a cosplayer. She might have used a wig at Offkai, and some people were also alleging that this image was actually taken from a thread from somewhere else, but it actually wasn't, as much as it's believable, seeing who we're dealing with here. Someone actually just took ChaCha's picture and posted it in this thread, which was about VTubers. Additionally,
Oh.
this image was being posted saying that it's the original one, without the emoji, but it's actually AI, and you can see this on the monitor
Yeah.
in the back. It even got
That's very
community noted.
obviously.
The
Very
reason I'm
obviously
pointing this out
AI.
is because we don't need fake proof to prove that this is a very weird story, because all we have to do is look at her Discord server when this was all going down. Someone would compile images of what was going on in her Discord after she had posted the hospital pic, and
What's
it
going
shows
on in
us
the
a clear
Discord?
understanding of how she was trying her best to prove that she was actually in the room with the help of her community. The first thing she'd do is post this, saying, "Also, yes, I have pink hair and the brown hair is a wig," confirming that yes, she was cosplaying at Offkai.
Okay.
She currently has pink hair. Her own Discord was kind of doubting her, saying, "Maybe you have a friend who took this picture," to which ChaCha would reply with, "So I have a pink-haired friend I got to send me hospital pics and a selfie right now? That's kind of dumb." Regardless though, her Discord wasn't really on her side. They were pushing her to get a piece of paper and write the name and the date so that people understand that this is actually
Yeah.
her. She would then go ahead
Yeah, that's like basic identification right there.
and post it, replying to the initial post of her proving she has pink hair. The image would say ChaCha, but the date would be very weird. It would say 1/1/9. That's what it looked like. Her Discord would point this out. What is this, 119?
Oh.
To which ChaCha would say, "No, it's meant to say 11/19. I know my handwriting is bad, but damn."
Bruh. There ain't no motherfucking way. Did they AI? Did they AI the note? Did they AI the note? Oh my god.
Someone would then say, "What's with the date and different hair shade?" To which she would say, "The hair is the same, it's my same hair." A couple of people would believe this, but many others wouldn't. Some of the people in the Discord would ask her to take another picture that's clearer, that has a better date, and she would say, "Because you're doubting me when I'm showing proof and making me take more and more photos, it feels like you're trolling me."
That
She'd
was
then finally give in and say,
100%
"Fine, I'll
AI.
take another photo with the same shirt that she had worn in the hospital." And then as someone was giving her advice as to how she could stand up to make the lighting look better and match the picture in the hospital, she would say, "I don't like standing a lot. I stood for one photo quickly and started feeling dizzy." Someone would say, "Come on now." To which she would say, "You do realize I have a heart condition that makes me faint when I stand for long periods?"
I don't think 10 seconds is a long period. Like, are you gonna have like a heart attack from standing up for 10 seconds? Like, yeah, I have medical problems too. Like, I'm an asthmatic. I have problems with my legs, but I still stand for 10 hours a night at work. Bruh, god damn, dog.
"I can show you the tilt table test." To which one of the people trying to help her would say, "Okay, I give up, you are a liar." She would then post the image of that test, right? Even though a lot of people were already turning on her by this point. And after many minutes of arguing about how she
So
gets dizzy
many
when she's
folks
standing
turning
up and
on
how
her.
she can't do it, someone would just say, "Hey, can you just do it sitting down? Can you just shut up and do it sitting down?" She'd say, "Okay, fine." And then she'd finally take another picture with her sitting down. As far as I'm aware though, she wouldn't post this one on Twitter. Someone would mention that she's missing the paper that says the date and her name, to which she would say, "What the fuck, you didn't say that, like you didn't specify for me to take it with it." Her Discord would then start infighting, right? Some people were on ChaCha's side, some
Oh
people
my
weren't,
God.
and they would just start like going at each other's throats, and she would just stop participating in the conversation. So yeah, here's the image of her sitting down, because again, if she stands up, she'll just faint, guys. Here's the hospital one. Is it the same shade? Up to you to decide. But one thing is for certain, this image is really weird. I don't know why you would write the date like this. Look, I can maybe say that this is a 19, right? This could be excused
Yeah.
as a 1. But then you have 3 different lines. What do they signify? That doesn't look like an 11 to me. It looks like 119. Not
Yeah.
a single reply here was like, "Oh, okay, that makes sense." Everyone was like, "Dude, what did you even write? Like what? This is January 2009? Like what kind of date is this?" It only made her look way worse. And then just as you thought that things couldn't get way crazier than this,
Oh.
she would make a tweet, because of course she lacks self-awareness entirely. She'd say, "If anybody wants to help with lawyer fees," and would link her stream elements in order to get donations. Yes, that's the tweet. This came out of nowhere. What lawyer fees? Who are you suing?
I really ought to link my Stream Elements page so I can get direct donos if anybody ever wants to. And also, I have a bot. I have a bot once an hour posting my Ko-fi page. So there's that too. Not to pressure anybody for doing direct donos. I mean, if you want to support me, feel free. I'm always happy to accept little donations from folks who want to just, send a little something my way. But I don't want to pressure you into it. Only if you wanna. This makes me a little happy, but I'm not gonna expect you to, because I don't have the expectations of deserving it. That just sounds self-deprecating at that point. That's sad. I'm just gonna keep going. I'm gonna keep going. I messed it
Wait,
up.
what are you talking about? It would only be the next day in which she would finally specify what she's raising lawyer funds for, saying, "For those that wanted me to specify, I plan on taking Apollo to court and suing her for slander and defamation. She has stated many false things about me with no evidence to back these claims up." Apollo would then quote tweet that and say, "I hope you do. That would be so funny." Now, I don't know what could have possibly changed ChaChaChilla's mind here, but shortly afterwards, she would delete that tweet. She would also delete the tweet in which she was asking for lawyer fees. Right? And the funny thing here is,
I think it's because somebody sat her down and explained explicitly what discovery is. Like, anytime someone comes up with a spurious lawsuit like that, whenever someone actually sits them down and explains to them what exactly discovery is, they're immediately like, oh shit, no, I don't want that. Because they don't realize that discovery goes both ways. You might be able to pry into somebody for all of their information and all of their evidence, but they could do the same thing to you now.
that if she actually were to sue, which come on, everyone knew that would never happen, the burden of proof would actually fall upon her. She would have to prove that she's innocent, right? And
Yeah.
so far, she's been doing a terrible job at this. Man, it's insane what delusion and narcissism can do. In any case, Flork would end this by saying, "Okay, folks, while I deeply appreciate the support, the matter is done and over with now. There's no need to continue with it. Let's not tell someone to KYS, let's lower the temperature. What's done is
Yeah,
done and the
obviously.
matter is over." I wish it didn't get to that point, but it is what it is. I wouldn't wish anyone getting to a mental breaking point. Chacha, I don't know what drove you to all this. Get the help you need and move on. You can't keep doing this in public. Getting backlash
Obviously,
when people
like-
defend themselves and then get to this point. He would then go ahead and say that he does forgive her,
God
but
damn.
hopes that she evaluates if this stuff is right for her. He hopes that she can get help. At Free, the one who was also blamed by Chacha, would say, "I have a lot of incredibly sweet DMs. Thank you for checking up on me. I promise normally I'm a silly little bug and I'll get back to that soon. More than anything,
Silly
I think
little
we
bug
should celebrate
thing.
the incredible job Lucia and the team did. You guys navigated unknown terrain and made sure that everyone was having a blast, sometimes literally. Cheers to the next one. We live, we learn, we entertain." She would then express how lucky she is to have her agency, SVA, and that she couldn't imagine going through this as an independent VTuber. So yeah, this whole thing was just wild, a complete roller coaster of emotions, and just like any big problem that blows out of proportion in many of my videos, or just on Twitter in general,
God
it could have
damn.
ended way earlier if the person involved had just apologized and taken
Yeah.
a step back.
Just
ChaChaChilla
apologize.
isn't some random VTuber. This is someone with past history who has hurt people deeply. The good news, though, is that their new attempt to reinvent themselves has completely failed, and
Good.
she'll probably make another account in the coming year or something.
More
I
likely
don't
than
know.
not.
If there's one silver lining here, is that it did raise awareness on Sock's agency, on the fact that its own CEO will defend his talents like no one else. That's a really cool thing to have. At the same time, it also did raise more awareness on the efforts of Lucia and Orisa when it came to making that server. Hopefully
I'm
next
glad.
time, it'll be even bigger and better and won't have any problematic people in.
At the very least, we know that this boosted the profiles of multiple good people in this whole situation.
Involved. And finally, when it comes to ChaChaChilla, the last tweet you can see on her feed was her saying that she has pink hair and that the brown hair is a wig. However, she did make another tweet along the lines of, "I've seen many people say that I should get a real job, but I'm disabled, blah, blah, blah," really pushing the whole disabled narrative even further. But she deleted that tweet, and I had no time to take a screenshot of it. However, we can still see her talking about this in the replies. Someone said, "Okay, you can't do a physical job, then get a desk job," to which she would say, "Are you going to pay for my college degree?" She hasn't learned a single thing. She hasn't apologized to a single person. And overall, she's absolutely hopeless.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
incredible what some people will do instead of
Just
just
apologize.
saying sorry. Anyway, thank you so much for watching this roller coaster train wreck nuclear bomb until the end. I really appreciate it. I also wanted to quickly
Absolute
mention that
dumpster
GamerSubs has
fire.
a new drop right now, and it looks really
Oh.
cool. So if you're interested, make sure to use the code MUJIN for 10% off your total order. I'll see you in the next video, whenever that is, and please take care until then. Love
France. Oh.
you. Mwah.
You held the door. Oh my god, I love these little end screens. Wow, so that was the ChaChaChilla situation, and that was way nuttier than I thought. I thought this was going to be just like typical VTuber drama stuff, not someone going on like VTuber life number 3 and already speedrunning their demise, getting involved in like a big SMP with other big creators and a whole agency, only to just dumpster it because you don't know how to like accept accountability for your own actions. Goodness me, like obviously like the whole thing that started this off is like the whole inferior comment when you're like, you're playing a game, you're in an RP setting where you're literally playing like the Unga Bungas against like the scientists and the militaries, and like in an RP setting, obviously like they're gonna be like stuck up and like pointed like that. So I don't know what the hell you were expecting. Oh boy, let me know what you thought of this whole situation down in the comments below. Do you have any experience dealing with them in their previous lives? Yap about that. Let me know down in the comments. Of course, don't forget to hit like on that video and subscribe to the channel and ding that bell so you know when I upload, and it helps me in the algorithm. And as always, I will see you next time at the HQ. Bye-bye.